All right, let's dive into this explainer and completely shift how we actually view English. For so many of us, it's always been framed as this strict grammatical test, like a minefield of rules where one wrong step means total failure. But today, we're throwing that out. We're going to look at language not as some test of perfection, but as a bridge for genuine human connection. To do that, here is the blueprint for the bridge we're building today. We'll start with a crucial mindset shift. Learn to start with your purpose. Build strong sentence skeletons, adjust time and strength, keep the interaction moving, design for your audience, and look at the real impact of connection. Section 1, a bridge, not a test, shifting the mindset. We so often have this brilliant idea, but we literally lose it halfway through a sentence because we're absolutely terrified of not sounding impressive. But here's the thing. Fluency is not about filling every second with fancy words. It's actually just about offering an idea in an order that helps another person receive it. That's really it. It starts with just one honest sentence. You add one reason. Give one example. Then just listen for the reply. That simple back-and-forth exchange, that is the true foundation of fluency. Think about it. When we treat language like a pop quiz, we are totally paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake, and we get trapped in this whirlwind of complicated, messy paragraphs. But what if we treat it as a bridge? Well, then our only goal is helping the listener cross over to our ideas. We completely drop the anxiety of the test and focus entirely on a logical order. Moving on to section 2, start with your purpose, the foundation. Before you even start stressing out about vocabulary, you've got to ask yourself a couple of basic things. Who is the audience, and what do I actually want this message to do? Because every good message needs a center, a support, and a landing. Imagine you want your school library open during lunch. Your center is the request itself. Your support is the reason. Say, students really need a quiet study space. And your landing? That's the specific next action. Like, could we try opening it twice a week? The vocabulary there is super simple, but the listener never ever has to guess why you're speaking. Section 3. Build strong sentence skeletons. Once you've nailed down your purpose, you need a strong sentence skeleton. That means identifying your subject and your main verb early on. We have all been trapped in a conversation with that one breathless sentence that just goes on forever, right? Our school started a project which many joined, and we collected bottles, and it was successful because a shop helped us. Honestly, it's exhausting just listening to it. Instead, break it down into distinct, digestible steps. Focus on the participation, then the action, then the success. It makes your ideas absolutely effortless to follow, and it gives you a safe home base to return to if your explanation suddenly gets a little too complicated. All right, section 4, adjust time and strength. Grammar isn't just a bunch of dusty rules sitting on a shelf somewhere. It is actual practical equipment. Think of tense as giving an event a specific address in time. It moves us logically. The past simple gives us a finished, done deal. The present perfect bridges that past to our current moment. The present simple gives us stable, reliable ground for general facts, and the future lets us point toward plans and predictions. Every single shift in tense should have a specific, deliberate reason behind it. And just like time, we've got to adjust our strength. Things like modal verbs basically protect the limits of your evidence. Saying a plan will work, that is a massive claim. But adjusting from a strong requirement like must to a careful, measured possibility like might, that shows careful, evidence-based thinking. Your claims need to match your data perfectly, which ensures you never overstate your case. Section 5. Keep the interaction moving. So, a bridge isn't much good if traffic only flows one way, right? Communication is this two-way rhythm of receiving, adding detail, and returning the conversation. But that rhythm gets incredibly tough to maintain when you run into conflict. Outright saying, "you are wrong," just attacks the person. It forces them into a defensive posture and completely stops the interaction cold. So, how do we actually challenge an idea constructively while keeping that bridge totally intact? Well, you use a simple 3-step move. Receive, identify, and propose. Let's say you're discussing a complete ban on phones at school. First, you receive the point. You genuinely acknowledge their concern about distraction. Second, you identify your difference. You point out you are specifically worried about emergencies. And third, you propose an alternative, like requiring phones to remain off in bags instead of a total blanket ban. Boom. You've just built a bridge of understanding right in the middle of a disagreement. And honestly, this is exactly how you win allies instead of creating enemies. Section 6. Design for your audience. When you're presenting data, you always want one clear message heading. Instead of forcing your audience to read some dense paragraph about survey results, frame the numbers visually. It delivers the core relationship instantly, which frees you up to talk about the actual nuances. One visual, one evidence-sized message. Presentations are visual tools meant to support understanding, right? They aren't just a transcript for you to read aloud.
And finally, Section 7, the impact of connection.
Let's look at a real-world example from our source material. There's a student named Sarah who had to present a multilingual emergency plan to city officials. The stakes were incredibly high. Now, Sarah initially wrote this dense script full of really impressive, high-level vocabulary. But then she realized, in a flood, dense paragraphs completely fail. People just need to know exactly where to go. So she stripped away all the complex words and built a simple route card. Turn at the bridge, continue past the park. She prioritized the user's actual survival over putting on a grammar showcase.
Sarah's willingness to unlearn all that complexity proves something incredibly profound. Accuracy can actually be a form of care. When we take the time to organize our thoughts, rely on strong frameworks, and match our claims to our evidence, we aren't just being correct, we're being deeply considerate of the person listening to us. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to step away from the pressure of the test. Please, don't wait for the perfect paragraph to form in your head before you speak. Figure out your center, trust your sentence skeleton, and just start. So the next time you open your mouth to communicate, ask yourself, are you trying to prove how smart you are, or are you trying to build a bridge? Start with one honest sentence, and let's see where that bridge takes you.